Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our final installment of the Snap Material Podcast for the month of May 2025. The intention tonight was to do a top 5 based on move mechanic cards. Instead, inspired by what we did with our previous tier list, where we tier listed every every season release card or premiere
Season
card,
pass.
season pass card. So we did that, and tonight I was like, well, let's do
We
that.
made somebody mad.
Somebody did not like what we did with Ant-Man. I understand, but this evening we have decided to take it to a whole new level, and we are going to take all the move cards and we're going to tier list them out.
We're moving on up.
Evan Bevins is over there. I'm Jesse Starcher. Thank you so much for joining us. And I really hope by the end of this, you won't be too upset with us. That's really all one can hope for. The plan is we're just going to tier list these out. We've got 5 tiers. We're going to do it very similar to what we did last time. We'll probably try and reserve our top tier. We got a lot of cards this time, dude. 48, I think, is what it came up with. 48 files.
Might get more than 2 in the top tier.
Yeah, I was going to say, we could probably squeeze quite. We got 5 tiers here. We could probably do 6, 8 up there, maybe, I would imagine.
Yeah. Let's not put anybody up there who doesn't need to be just to meet a quota or keep somebody out who deserves it.
That's right. I tried to grab, and I swear if there's something I forgot, well, that's just too bad. We'll grab it next time we do.
It's because we personally hate your favorite card.
It'll be something that I'll be laying in bed tonight going, why didn't we put that in there? It's so obvious. It's like, somebody forgetting to put Spider-Man in there or something. Hey, I didn't do that.
You got Uncle Ben in there. You have to have Spider-Man.
That's right. Okay. Well, let's get started here. We're going to go left to right, starting from the top. I need to give the categories here from bottom to top. Our bottom tier is titled Standing Still. All right, these are cards that very minimal, if any, impact with their move mechanic. Then we have the wrong lane.
I just suggested it because I like that Jewel song.
Perfect. The Oops Wrong Lane Club. So, guys that are probably going to move and get over to where they need to be. We have the Body Slide by 1 in the middle tier. And then we have our second from the top. This is Gateway Almost Said Something to You. And if you are a comic book fan, an X-Men comic book fan specifically, you probably know what we're talking about there. And then
before long, he's got to show up.
Right. And then finally, Portals, suggested by Evan Bevins. A great suggestion for our top tier.
One of the great moments in Marvel history of any medium.
Agreed. All right, let's go. So we're starting with Iron Fist here. Iron Fist. This is now. I'm going to try and remember these abilities off the top of my head. You play him.
He says as he waits for his app to load. Yeah, Danny Rand.
That's right. How far?
The of the mystic realm of Kunlun.
That's right. If I remember, you play him, and the next card that you laid down will move to the left.
Yep. Just like Beyonce said, to the left.
To the left. Iron Fist to the left. Okay. I know he's been around since the beginning, if I remember correctly. I can't remember if he was introduced. I don't think he was introduced at any point after we started playing. So
no. He's been there.
He's, as far as like impact on the game and what he can do, I'm going to go right now. I'm just going to start him in the Oops Wrong Lane Club.
I would put him in the middle easily.
Okay. All right.
I mean, he may not be required in every, but he's in a lot of them.
All right.
I mean, he's not overwhelming, but he's been a foundational piece for the move mechanic from the beginning, and I still put him in most of mine.
You got a point there. I mean, when we're talking Human Torch, which we will be here probably after this one.
Did you include him? That's good.
I did remember to put Human Torch in here. You usually see Iron Fist with Human Torch just about every single time. Next up is Polaris. Polaris grabs 1, card and pulls it over to her side, and it's got to be a 1 or 2 cost card. Is that right?
Yes, I believe that is correct. Move an enemy 1 or 2 cost card to this location.
I don't think it's going to be up in here, but it may be. I've used her a lot, actually. She's probably one of them higher split cards for me, so I know I've used her a good bit. And it would always throw a wrench into people with destroy decks and, trying to do something with Deadpool or X-23.
Complements a lot of other cards. I think she belongs right up there by Iron Fist.
All right. Good deal.
I don't know if the buzz of the revelation that Nev Campbell will be voicing her in X-Men 97 Season 2 keeps her up anymore, but at the very least, right there in the middle. Another foundational piece.
Human Torch. Essentially, he starts out with 1 power. Once he moves, it doubles. And then if he moves again, then it doubles. Oh, it's a 2 power and then doubles before? Okay. So, yeah, this is a card that has... you talked about essential to the move mechanic.
Yeah.
Been essential to the move mechanic.
He was in my top 5. I think he at least goes there. The only thing that keeps him out of the top tier is he does have a bit of a glass jaw. The
Killmonger glass jaw.
Yeah, I think easily in that tier. Technically, any of these cards could move up or down. Although technically, they tend to go side to side.
All right. Professional as always. Silk. 2 cost, 5 power. You lay her out there, and I love this card.
I've got it. After any card is played here, this moves to another location.
Hey, I put a Human Torch up where Gateway almost said something to you. You're cool with that, or did you want it in higher?
Okay. We'll revisit it. Like I said, the only thing that keeps him, I would say portals, but he does have that glass jaw.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of feel the same way about Silk because, especially with some of the cards we get into where you get bonuses for moving more. She's fantastic, and there's not really a limit on what you can do with her until you fill up a lane, but she's a little unpredictable. I know you love the chaos, but I prefer a little more.
I've thought a lot about the whole chaos thing, and I think the reason why is it gives me an excuse to blame something else other than me being bad. I couldn't control that. I couldn't do anything. So anyway, you're saying you're down here at Gateway, or are you saying body?
I'd say Gateway. Gateway. She has a lot of potential, and that 5 power is nothing to sneeze at. She does not have a glass jaw.
All right, next up is going to be the Infinity. This is, I believe, Ultron's Infinity Stone.
Okay. I believe that moves the lowest cost enemy card at that location to Infinity Ultron's spot. So pretty niche, but also something that makes Infinity Ultron potentially useful in a lot of decks.
I'll go in the middle tier, body slide by 1, unless you are like, oops, wrong lane club. I don't think it's a horrible card in any.
I don't think it's a horrible card, but for the move mechanic, it's pretty limited.
Pretty basic.
I would have put it on standing still because there's only so many places you can use it. Now, if you want to split the difference, you said body slide, I said standing still. If you want to put it in the wrong lane club and split the difference, we can do that. I think it's good for what it does, but you got to have
Infinity Ultron in your deck. You've got to also draw this. That's the other thing. Like, there's 6 Infinity Stones, so you've got a 1/3 chance of getting it possibly.
I'm thinking more with compounding. Absolutely in the right circumstance and the right draw, it could make a big difference. But there's also been times where I've gotten that card and I've been like, I don't even know. That's why to me, it's one of the lower level of Ultron's Infinity Stones.
You've convinced me. We'll leave her down there, and if I need to make an argument to move it up, I'll try. Then Agamotto and his shirtless glory. He has a spell. Now, this goes into your deck when you have Agamotto in there. And I'm going to tell you that, and I know I've already told you, I hated this card. This is the card that made me.
Would you say it blows?
The winds of Watum definitely blow. I didn't like this card so much that it made me instant retreat. I did not want to run into it because most of my decks were centered around, okay, I need to have this piece here. And it seemed like I was always going to run into the fact that, they're going to move it and they're going to give me -5 power. It's -5, right?
Yep.
I think it's -5. That's just ridiculous. So I'm going to say it's got to be one of these two. again, it's kind of tied to Agamotto, however you want to say it. I'm going to go body slide by 1, but where would you go?
I would go with the wrong club just because it's not quite as limited as the Ultron Infinity Space Stone, but on its own, it's up there. I just by itself on its own, put it second from the top. But when we're talking, like, it's not that you're like, hey, I got to get. Actually, maybe I should be putting that in a move deck. That's why I definitely wouldn't put it at the bottom because it's too impactful. I don't know. I could be talked into body slide because now I'm thinking maybe I should try a move deck with Agamotto. So I'll leave it up to you if it wasn't primarily move centric.
I got you. We don't have anything in the Strong Lane Club yet, and we'll leave it there. I hate it. I cannot stand the card, but again, they got to draw it. It's mixed in, and you're going to be playing against Agamotto. As a player, if you have that, what advantage does it give you? It gives you quite a bit if you can lay it out there.
Oh, yeah. Well, and now I'm thinking of I might be talking myself into body slide now because I'm thinking, man, you could pair other cards that I never really thought about before. I mean, it could build on the move stuff. I'd be okay with putting it in the middle to honor your hatred.
All right, next up, Doctor Strange. He pulls the highest powered card.
Yeah, highest power. Difference between power and cost. Move your highest powered card to this location.
Boy, I feel body slide by 1. I don't think it's the Wrong Lane Club because he's used quite a bit. If you get Human Torch up there and he's in a different lane and you just like, okay, well, I'm going to win this one lane by pulling Human Torch over here and doubling his power to 28 or something or whatever.
I don't rate him as high. I didn't even consider him for the top 5, but I think that's a me problem. I know he's used a lot and he's a staple, but I too often mess up and maybe I just play him too early. There have been times I've put him down and I'm like, why didn't he move anything? Oh, because he's the highest power card now. That could totally be user error. So I'm fine with him in body slide by 1. I personally would move him down 1, but I think that's a me problem.
Okay, we're going to leave him in the middle. We then have Miles Morales. If a card moves, his cost goes from 4 to 1, which is very handy. I use him in just about every move deck because when you have a 1 cost 6 power card and your final turn may include Heimdall. If that's the case, you might not be able to play him, but if you got a 7th turn because of Limbo being out there, then you got 16 power you can lay down on that 7th turn, and everybody's going to move. Even when I get into situations where his cost isn't getting reduced, I still play him. Like hey, I got a 4/6 here. That's 6 power I can lay down. I'll still use him.
So another card that's better than the Thing.
Oh, yes. Poor Benjamin Grimm. I'm going to go, man, we're filling this middle tier up. I'm going with the middle tier here with body slide by 1. I don't think he's gateway.
I think we could drop him down and reduce his cost to 1. Maybe I'm talking in circles because I had these other two. How do they pair with other move cards? Not well. But this one, you have to have another card to move or else he's just Ben Grimm. I don't rate him very highly. I hardly ever use him because I'm always interested in a card that moves or a card that benefits from moving. And again, this could be user error on my part because, there's times where I'm like, oh, well, I activated him, but I need to use something else. And then he's back to a 4.
He does go back up and yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, because we need something down here.
You have to agree with me. I can always leave angry comments after you post this. So.
It's got like 6 Google accounts. Just make sure you subscribe. That's all I ask.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
Next up is Spider. This is the robot created from Benny Parker. Spider merges with a card and can move the turn after. I've just started recently putting him in a move deck, specifically to get Human Torch, maybe merge with Human Torch and move.
That's a good idea.
I haven't had much luck. By the time I get Spider out there, unless I'm making a conscious decision to leave Human Torch all by himself in one lane, I run the risk of him merging with something else that I don't want him to merge with. Yeah. So I'm down here in the Wrong Lane Club for me just because.
I agree with that. No, I tried him and Penny in a move deck when I first got him, but I tend playing with Sebastian Shaw with that +3 or +5. I tend to throw him into decks where I don't have a lot of move. He can add that. And that comes in handy when it's like, okay, I need something else in a different lane, and that can make this happen. So I like the card, but I don't think he's very vital in the move meta.
Okay. Yeah. Oops, wrong lane club. There we go. Next up is Grandmaster. Grandmaster takes one of your on reveal cards and moves them over to the center location. It's just one card, right?
Yeah, it does give you that repeat of the on reveal, which is always much appreciated.
You can't complain. As far as like Grandmaster in a move deck, I don't know if I've ever put him in a move deck. Have you?
I haven't either.
Okay.
I think the utility of the ability merits wrong lane club, standing still. I mean, yeah, I don't ever think of him as a move card. So I'm fine with him standing still, especially since, as we'll talk about later, his position in sending cards to the middle has been usurped by his executive assistant.
Okay. Yeah, it's true.
Allegedly has a cool factor of 12.
All right, next up. Spider-Man. This is the one of the first cards that I remember having where I could affect the other side of things.
Mm-hmm.
When I can affect my opponent by grabbing, oh boy, I don't want to say grabbing Wong, but I want to say grabbing Wong and pulling into the center. But yeah, moving another card on the other side.
How about moving Nova before one of their cards can destroy it? There's no double entendres there.
A bagel with Nova. Anyway, I like Spider-Man. I have him in just about every move deck. It's going to be either Gateway or Body Slide for me. Where are you at?
I think Body Slide because now I know I said Silk gets up there even with the chaos factor, but she can move over and over. Spider-Man, you only get one shot, and if you miss your chance to blow, that opportunity only comes once in a game. Sorry, I lost myself. But so the fact that you don't know where he's going and it's only a one shot to me is Body Slide territory.
Okay, I'm all right with that. We may have one of our first contenders here, and that is Heimdall. He is 6 cost, and is he 9 or 10 power?
He's 10 power. He was 9 for a while.
10
but
power.
They powered him back up for reasons I don't remember.
Takes every card and moves them to the left.
To the left.
To the left.
Oh, he's portals all the way.
Yeah.
Usually what you need is a card to benefit from moving and a card to move. And he moves every card as long as there's a place for him to go. So every other card that'll be a contender, he doesn't really do anything for Silk unless you play him there. But yeah, all the cards that benefit from moving, Heimdall is the prime mover. Quake would be the shaker. And he's powerful enough. He can clear out a lane. Just yesterday or today, I was playing one, and Atlantis was on the far right, and I dropped Heimdall there, moved everybody over, powered them up, and still won the lane.
Nice. Yeah, I just had a game. I've been working on this deck where I've been trying to make use of, oh my goodness, what's that new card called? It's not Cypher, it's Prodigy. So Prodigy, I'm trying to do something with Prodigy. I ended up at one point bouncing Dagger between 2 spots on turn 5, laid Heimdall down, and then center across again. Heimdall moving every single card, almost makes use of every single one of these cards that gets bonuses with move. It's great to watch Hydra Stomper jump up because Heimdall just moved a ton of cards. Also,
just like in season 2, episode 6 of What If? What if Heimdall and Hydra Stomper were in the same episode?
Sometimes help you out on those alliance bounties or whatever they're called, because one of those is strictly like just move 5 cards in a match. Well, Heimdall's going to do that.
A lot of move bounties last season.
Right, dude. At some point, you're sitting there going, like, I could just create a deck that destroys every single card so I can get this bounty. Next up, this is a card that you used a lot, if I remember correctly.
The linchpin of all my move decks for about a year.
Yeah, that's what's crazy, is like I never used Phoenix in any of my move decks ever. I was completely missing out on some stuff here, I'm sure.
No, you were probably afraid of getting in touch with your dark side and destroying a planet full of asparagus people.
I don't like asparagus. Where are you going? You said linchpin.
She was number 2 in my top 5 and almost number 1. Because, for those move cards, you need a card that moves them or a card that benefits from being moved. And she merges them into one. I mean, technically, it's 2 cards coming together, but she can, the earlier you get her out in those destroy move decks, she can make the torch, dagger, vulture, and multiple man self-sustaining and building cards.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the only card I can think of that unlocks and powers up more move cards than Phoenix Force is Heimdall, because he can do them all at once. But you got to be careful which one you destroy and bring back. But if you get torch or dagger or multiple man out there, you can do some crazy stuff.
All right, I defer to you, sir, on that one for sure. So Phoenix is going into portals. All right, next up is the regular old space stone that Thanos has. And I mean, if we're putting Infinity Ultron down here, I feel like
got to
go down here.
The space stone lets you move from any point in the universe to any point in the universe, but for purposes of our tier list, it's standing still. It lets you move Thanos and place him anywhere, which could come in handy, but it's more like it's good. I mean, you're trying to get all the stones anyway to power him up, and that's its main benefit. I can't think of a time where I've actually used its ability, but there could come a time where it's very useful. It's only a fraction of the decks you would use with Thanos,
right,
where it would be useful. So even in its natural habitat, you're not going to use it that much, and it just doesn't. I don't think it makes a difference in the move meta at all.
I agree. Hydra Bob is our next one. I don't know if I have Hydra Bob yet, or I know that I've not had him in any decks, and it's a very good possibility if I had Hydra Bob, I'm not putting him in any decks yet.
I've tried him in a few, and he always comes out pretty quickly, and rarely have I even considered him in a move deck. I'm a hypocrite on some of this stuff because I don't like chaos, but I like the idea of Bob. I like that he interacts with snapping, so that might push him up from the bottom, but for purposes of the move mechanic, I think he's probably standing still.
All right. Uncle Ben.
The card's so wrong, it's right.
Uncle Ben has to get destroyed, and when he does get destroyed, he becomes Spider-Man. Well, I don't think
Spider-Man. In at least one alternate reality, he does become Spider-Man.
But he's not going to be body slide by 1.
No.
I don't have him in any decks, and I don't even think I own him. I'm scared to purchase a pack because he's in the pack. I don't want to get him because I don't play destroy. What a weird thing. Like, hey, we're going to destroy Uncle Ben. So you're putting a move card in a destroy deck. That was the other thing that had me scratching my head. Like, this is usually going to be in a destroy deck. Granted, you can make any deck you want. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
It might be the most comic accurate card out there. I mean, you lose Uncle Ben, you gain Spider-Man. If that death doesn't happen, that's like a canon event or something, whatever they did in Across the Spider-Verse. Look it up, kids. The weirdness factor alone makes me like the card more than I actually use it. But if we're talking about cards that may work in some places but don't really have a home in the move meta, then I think he stands still beside Hydra Bob.
All right. Hercules up next. Now, I really thought that Hercules was going to change some things. And I mentioned earlier about how I think Dagger was flip-flopping around. One of the reasons Hercules being in the middle was able to bounce her twice. You talk about Human Torch, same thing. If you can get him moved, I assume you probably had him in there with Phoenix Force. I'm going to say
body slide by 1.
Right.
The chaos or just my inability to figure out order of operations. I can't tell you how many times I've gone like, oh man, I'm going to use Spider-Gwen to pull him over to Hercules and then throw him. And then what happened? Well, genius, you played Hercules, then you played Spider-Gwen. So she does. He's a little hard to operate. I could see him at Gateway. I'll let you decide where he goes, but
I'll let him ride out body slide by 1 because when you get him out there, making use of him is the tough thing. So
Yeah.
I'll just leave him there. If you can get him going, if you got somebody that can bounce off of him and you're able to control that, man, you could get a card up there. That's for sure. Next up is Scream. This is a card that I really, really wanted. I do not want to put Scream at any point in the lower two. I really like Scream.
I'd put her in Gateway.
Okay.
At least.
I was there too.
I mean, it depends, I guess, on how we're defining it. If you want to talk about the move meta in terms of moving other people's cards or guarding against the move meta, I think she's Portals. But maybe in terms of overall, she's not quite as impactful as those two up there. If you're using a deck where you're planning on moving other people's cards, why would you not have Scream in there?
Right.
If you've got Polaris in your deck, why would Scream not be in there?
Exactly. Okay. Spider-Man 2099. This guy will, if once he moves once, he destroys a card, enemy card in that lane.
Yeah. I mean, he can't move on his own. The first time it moves to any location, destroy an enemy card there. A little random, but honestly, if you don't get his ability to activate, you got a 9.
You got 5/9.
Looks awesome.
Yeah. I almost want to go with Gateway just because it's 9 power and could destroy something, which means the other side is going to lose power. You know, it could be one of those critical cards that guy needs. The only thing is that he costs so much. A lot of times, if you are hinging on some kind of bounce mechanic, you about turn 5 is where you're like, okay, let's bounce some things around here so we can get some power going. If you're trying to lay out Spider-Man 2099 in your deck, you're not going to be able to get that bounce going. But Heimdall might be there to at least get some stuff off there. But anyway, I feel like
one shot.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I already did that one. I like him. I love looking at the card. I kind of feel body slap by 1. I think he's better than some of those cards, but I think you put him next to Torch and Silk and Scream, and he just doesn't quite fit there.
Okay. Stegron. I like Stegron a lot. Stegron's 4 cost. Love being able to, if I've got the initiative, just slap something out of a lane to the right. I'm going with Body Slide here. I don't think it's Gateway, but I would say Body Slide.
I agree with you.
All right. Captain America's Shield. Oh, boy. This is, I mean, it's standard now if you got Captain America, Sam Wilson, Captain America in your deck. What are you thinking here, man? I mean, I could almost see an argument possibly for Gateway because it is almost like the hinging mechanic, like the hinging card for those decks that have the caps in them.
I agree, but not for a move deck, though. I mean, I've used it. I even put Hydra Stomper in my deck with that to go with the ongoing and move stuff. But also, obviously, you get it if Sam Wilson's in your deck, but sometimes you don't draw Sam Wilson. So to me, it's a body slide by 1. In terms of the move meta, in terms of the overall game, I'd put it in an upper tier. But in terms of move cards, I think it probably goes in the middle.
All right. I don't have the card. I don't play with the card. So I just know I've seen it a lot. And I've seen it bouncing.
Oh, yeah.
Nico's, when this is her spell, she just moves a card to the right. I almost don't want to put it as standing still. But let's try this. How often do you use this?
Not very often. I think I've tried her in some move decks. For me, the appeal of Nico is the versatility. But even when you put her in a deck hoping for one of her abilities, the reason that she stays in there is because, well, if you can't make that work, you might pull something else you need. As a card in general, good stuff. As a move card, I think it probably goes down there.
Okay. All right. And then we have Aranya. Now, if I remember correct, this is an activate, and when you activate
it moves the next card you play after you activate her to the right.
Okay. Well, what are you thinking? I don't use Aranya very often.
Yeah, I don't use her as much as I activate other cards. There are quicker move cards to get to. I mean, I see where the activate could be useful because there have been plenty of times where I've got Iron Fist and Ghost Spider and no cards that would benefit from them moving. I don't have her. I've had her generated in my hand a couple times. I see where it's useful, but to me, there's just other cards that do the same thing a little quicker. I think Wrong Lane Club is a good spot. Useful, but not my first choice.
Okay. Madam
I'm
Web.
thinking about if I had her, who would I pull out of a deck? And I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
Because
Clearly,
there's another card that you can activate and move cards to the right.
all right, Madam Web, 2 cost, 1 power, and she can move any card,
One card
in that
per turn.
lane, 1 per
Yes.
turn. And just to give you a heads up, I used Prodigy behind her today. This is the whole concept of this deck, to get Madam Web and then Prodigy behind Madam Web, then try to bounce. Now I got 2 cards that can move. You lay out Prodigy and you can move 1 card still only from that lane. I haven't had a chance to get both of them in 2 separate lanes and try to move 2 separate cards yet. Something always comes up. I don't know what it is, but really that's about turn 4, and then you're hoping to move, and then you really only got 1 turn to maybe bounce some people around if you got turn 7. But anyway, Madam Web, I love Madam Web. As far as moving, I'm going to go at least body slide by 1. What about you? Any thoughts?
I'd say keep going up. And we're not talking about the movie. That would be in a much lower tier. And I feel bad for everybody involved. Most of these cards that let you move another card, which is so important, most of them are one-time only deals. She let you keep going. And if you get Hercules to throw somebody back, you can keep moving those cards over and over. If you can double her up, copy her ability, that's great. I've even used her with Sam Wilson, Captain America. If I don't draw Sam, maybe I'll draw Madam Web and can at least toss the shield over to Steve once. So, yeah, I think she's pretty key. That not quite enough to get up to portals, but yeah, easily. I think Gateway would at least give her a thumbs up.
Okay. Gateway, I like it. Then we have Craven.
I need a short backup feature in Marvel Snap Team Up where Gateway and Madam Web are having dinner at an outdoor cafe.
Oh, that would be great. All right, so Craven, this is a staple in my move decks.
Yeah.
I think that at least Gateway almost said something to you.
Yes. All right. I don't know. An argument could be made for portals. What I like about him is he works for
both sides.
But yeah, both. So if you're moving and messing them up, or if you're moving your own, or if you're doing a little bit of both, yeah, Craven is the dude you want there. So another card much better than his movie.
We're about to have the whole Sony.
What if the Punisher's dad was a grumpy gangster? So, but yeah, I don't know about portals, but easily in the Gateway tier.
All right, love it. This is what I thought of first for Oops Wrong Lane Club. That was Nightcrawler. Just because he only moves once, he's 1 cost, 2 power, and it's not like he could just move a lot. He's in the you want to move him? Okay, let's move him over here. He does what he's supposed to do. Maybe if you got him teamed with Craven or something like that, he might get a little bit of both. But
move mechanics evolved a lot. In the early days, I loved having Nightcrawler as an option, but there's just it's not an insult there. And Kurt Wagner's a humble guy at heart. He's a showman, but we'll gladly let other people take the lead. He'll be there when you need him.
I wonder if they got a variant with him and he has a cutlass. They ought to. I mean,
I think so. They've got 2 with him dressed as Spider-Man, maybe even 3 by now.
Wow. Dagger has got to go. I'll say Gateway almost said something to you because she can get rocking and rolling sometimes.
Absolutely. I agree with you. She's one of the cards you want to try to pair with Phoenix if you can. If you're doing that kind of deck, she's one of the ones that can really build up. She just takes a little more work or finesse than some of the others. There have been times like, I can move Dagger here. Why aren't you putting cards there so that I can make that do something? If you move them, they're going to do what you want them to do. But Dagger takes a little bit extra there. But yeah, easily in Gateway territory.
All right, good deal. I think this might be an argument possibly for another top tier card, and that is Magneto. Oh, I have won so many games using him just because it can destroy a whole strategy on that other side where they thought they've got the game won, but nope, I'm just going to go ahead and pull your 2 10 power cards over. You'll beat Magneto, but you ain't going to take these other 2 lanes.
I mean, he's got 12 power, so he could win a lane for you, or he can bring it all down around you. I was going to say Gateway, but you convinced me.
Okay. All right.
You convinced me.
I think if we're going to have some more top tier cards, he's got to be up there. Like
Oh,
he's
yeah.
got to be one of the ones. Okay, then we have Vision. Vision, once you get him out there, he can move anywhere he wants at any time. The problem is he costs 5, so you're only going to be able to possibly move him twice.
Unless there's some shenanigans.
True. I'm not going to say oops, wrong lane club, just because, well, again, he's just a quintessential mover. I'm not going to go any higher than body slide. That's for me. What about you?
I was thinking one higher.
Are you really? Gateway?
Well, because he can move multiple times, but you're right. You're going to be hard pressed to move him more than twice. Where did I have him in my top 5? I forget where
was he in top 5?
I moved him around. No, he ended up at number 8. He was in my top 5 at one point, but I moved him out.
Looking at your top 5, have they all been listed here yet?
No, there's still 2 that we haven't gotten to.
Okay. I think I've got all of mine on here. No, I've got one that hasn't been on here, and it's my number 1. So I'm kind of curious. We aren't doing really the top 5, but I want to see if we have any overlap. Did I convince you about body slide, or are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have Cloak. I really need to use Cloak a lot more. I see Cloak used against me a lot, and sometimes I don't even take advantage of the opportunity to move, even though it gives you can move and your opponent can move to that location. With Craven, though, you could get Craven pumped up if they move to that same lane that Cloak and Craven are sitting. So I don't know, man. It's one of these two. I don't think it's Portals, even though he does.
No, I don't think he's up there. He's another one that I feel like I could probably use better. I always put him in, and then he ends up going out because, I don't know, maybe I think I want him to do more than he can do. It's one turn, one location, and then your opponent can move stuff too. I think he's super solid. I'd probably put him in body slide territory.
Next up is Captain Marvel, and I mean, she's almost a definition of oops, wrong lane club. She gets the heck out of the wrong lane sometimes and gets into the right one in order to win you the victory.
I have finally figured out how to use her. I do like her, but I rarely think of her as even though obviously she moves, I rarely think of her as a move card.
Yeah.
I don't put her in move decks. I put her in decks where I can build up her power and make her even more of a difference maker. So I think oops, wrong lane club is the right spot for her.
I like it. Okay. Cool factor of 12 has entered the chat. Topaz. You might want to help me out in explaining what it does.
Okay, let me get the wording right, because she moves. Okay, after you play a card here, move it to the middle location.
If she's sitting there, that card gets laid down, it's going over to the middle.
That's right. And as a friend of mine pointed out when we were both talking about how to use her, if you've got Craven and Madam Web sitting in that middle location.
Oh boy.
Yeah. The only downside to her is it's going to be hard to build up whatever lane you've got her in, at least until you fill up the middle. Many times I've dropped Ghost Spider in there and had her pull someone to that spot, and then Ghost Spider gets tossed in the middle. I think she's easily in gateway territory. I think she deserves Portal's consideration. I don't know if
I can't talk you out of this because I've never played this card.
That might be a little much. She is a card that, if you're not careful, can backfire on that lane. You're not automatically going to lose that lane, but it's going to be harder to win now. It's going to be easier to win the middle and the other lanes. Right. She's easily gateway. It might be a little too early to put her up there in Portal's territory, but she's not far off.
Okay. All right.
She's on your left.
She
coming up behind you.
She was on your list, I assume, right? She on your top 5?
She was my first cut.
Was she really?
She was number 6.
All right, then we have Fan Fei. Tell me about Fan Fei.
Fan Fei is an activate card, and when you activate her, move your other cards here to the right.
Okay. What's she cost?
That can be up to 3 cards.
What does she cost?
She's 4 cost, 7 power.
Okay.
So even if you don't get it, even if you don't get her activated, she's not bad. And, if you're moving other cards onto that lane, I mean, there have been times where I've played her, moved 2 or 3 cards to the right, and immediately had Heimdall flip over and send them right back. So, yeah, she's good.
Is she hanging out up here with Topaz?
She might be.
All right.
I think so.
Oh, my goodness. The lovable, the huggable Jeff, the baby land shark. Jeff was really instrumental, especially in the fact that you can play him anywhere.
Yeah. Even alongside somebody on the Space Throne.
Yes.
Drop him right into the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Oh, my goodness. Now, granted, he can kind of move there as well if he needs to, because he moves once, right? Is that how it works?
Move can be played anywhere and can move anywhere. Snuggle right up next to Professor X. Well, no, everybody can do that because of the move thing.
Oh, yeah, they changed that all.
But he was one of the only ones that could do that for a while.
Right. I don't think he's Oops Wrong Lane Club. I think he's Body Slide.
Body Slide by one because he's useful in almost any deck. I think he's one of those cards that you can consider putting in almost any deck. But the decks that you would be less likely to use him in, I think, might be move decks because there's so many other options.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but yeah, I think he's easily Body Slide by one.
Okay. Next up is a card that I probably at one point would have had at the top tier of this tier list. And
you would have had a Cannonball above Portals.
That's true. We have Cannonball. Cannonball actually won me a game yesterday. I don't play with him as much as I used to. I put a move deck together.
And he ain't as good as he once was.
That's right.
I hate that song. Why would I reference that?
Toby Keith, rest in peace. Cannonball, though. I mean, look, if you have the guy I was facing, I don't know what he did, but he ended up filling up the lanes, and I dropped Cannonball out there, and I destroyed his Hulk, and it was so satisfying. So I'm going to say it's either going to be Gateway or it's going to be Body Slide. I'd almost say Gateway because, I mean, he comes in there and moves the other side. That's why he's on here. There's room. He's going to move the highest power card from that lane to another spot. And if he can't do that, he's going to destroy it and replace it with a rock, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you where to put Cannonball. If you say he belongs by Gateway, then that's where he belongs.
We may make some arguments here to move some people up in the next tier. And if I have my opportunity to pick from this Gateway level to move up the Portals, he's probably going to be top candidate. But I right now will put him at Gateway, and we'll see how the rest of this list shakes out. All right, we got Vulture up next. If you see a move deck without Vulture, it's not very often.
When he moves, +6 power.
Yeah, that's huge.
I'll tell you right now, he was my number one.
Really?
Because Torch, we like his ability. He can build up even more powerful than Vulture. But you get Killmonger or Elektra, you can lose. Torch has a glass jaw. Dagger can also often get more power than Vulture, but it depends on where you put her. You're dependent on paying attention to what your opponent does. Vulture, all you got to do is move him. You're getting +6 every time. And I put him on there because out of all the cards like that, he's the most consistent. Torch, you can get crazy numbers with Torch, but you can also lose him really fast. You can build up, but it depends a lot on what your opponent's doing. Vulture, you move him, he just keeps building and building. I like this card so much more than I like the character, although the gulf is shortened when you consider Michael Keaton's portrayal of him. Although true. I would be remiss if I did not point out that even though Michael Keaton was awesome as the Vulture, I think a more comic accurate Vulture would have been played by Creed Bratton of The Office.
Office.
Yes. Imagine it. You know that episode where he looks at the camera and he says, what can I say? I love stealing. So, yeah, your mileage may vary. You can bump him down if you want. But
no, you know what? I'm making an executive decision here. Your number one is going to go at the top, and my number one is going to go at the top as well. Number one on my list was going to be Cannonball. I'll just move mine up there because I feel like we ought to represent for our top 5 list by throwing our top movers into the Portals category.
Sure, I guess, but I mean, Cannonball. I mean, Vulture's better.
Okay, all right. Here, let me just do this real quick. There we go. We'll put him right there.
All right, so we're doing this like a manga book.
No, wait. All right. Okay, next up. So Nocturne, she has movability.
Use the fantasy variant.
What does the fantasy variant look like? I swear that I don't think I've seen it. Wait, it's the nasty looking one, isn't it?
Wait until you fall asleep, Jesse. She'll be waiting in your nightmares. The artist who drew that is like, I'm just going to go look at the check I got. Stick with you guys.
Yep. All right, so Nocturne, you get her out there, and she works like Nightcrawler and Scarlet Witch combined. You move her, you can move
Which
her
makes sense
once.
because they're her parents.
You can move her once, and when she moves, she can change the location to a random location of some. So,
but she does that every time she moves. She can only move on her own once, but if you move her, yeah.
I like her in Oops Wrong Lane Club, and I'll tell you that it's not because she stinks or anything like that. I think it's a situation where, hey, I don't like that lane over there. I'm going to go change it. That's the wrong lane. Other than that, unless she's sitting there with Craven, she's not going to give you too much of a bonus. She's just going to get you out of a sticky situation where, crap, this lane is locked down or something weird.
She's a good card, but not one of my top choices for a move deck.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I loved using her for was the people that played Magic and had Limbo out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you know what? We're not going to go to turn 7 right now. We're just going to go ahead and end this at turn 6, and I'd send Nocturne over that way.
My favorite Magic eraser was when I would play Magic, and then on turn 6, I would play Legion on another one. It's like, yeah, let's do turn 7.
Nah.
Not.
I love it.
Right.
That's some 90s stuff right there. All right. I think one of the most impactful move cards during the beginning days of Marvel Snap was Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
What was the combo we used to use? Arrow and Leader, or maybe it was something different. I remember Arrow was part of a combo in which they had to do something to address what was going on.
Yeah.
Everybody was using Arrow, and the combination of, I feel like it might have been Captain Marvel.
I remember them adjusting her, but I don't remember what it was for, because she used to move more than one card, right?
Yes. Yeah, she would move
they had to drop it down so she only moved the last card you played.
Right. It would move all of the cards that were played that turn to that one lane, if I remember correctly. Oh, that ship has sailed, so that's not the case anymore. You don't see her a whole lot anymore.
She's still useful, and like Spider-Man 2099, I mean, she's a 5/9. I think she at least goes and probably body slide by 1, because there are times when you play Arrow and you're like, haha, I'm going to, and nothing happens because they played in your lane too. But I think if Spider-Man 2099's there, she deserves to be right there with him.
Okay. All right, we are in our last 10 here. The next up is going to be Multiple Man. And if you can make use of Multiple Man, kind of like with your combo with Phoenix, you can really wreck some stuff up, and you're just leaving Multiple Men everywhere.
I wondered what would happen if Jamie Madrox hosted the Phoenix Force, but now I want Peter David to tell us.
Where do you got Multiple Man? I don't use them as much as I used to.
I don't use him as much as I see other people using him, which makes me think I might be missing out on something. I could see him in body slide by 1 or up in gateway. The reason I think maybe body slide is because you really need a bonus. Otherwise, you're just putting 3 cost cards around, which can be useful, but to really make him effective, you need a boost and a move. So I can see him as low level gateway, but nowhere below body slide by 1 for sure. I think maybe he needs a little bit more help and doesn't have as much upside as Dagger.
Oh, I'll go with that. All right. We have Red Wing.
His adorable little goggles.
Red Wing.
That he doesn't need.
Red Wing, the way that it works is if Red Wing moves, he then drops a card from your hand in the old location. So you have to move Red Wing in some way. So it's going to be
only the first time he moves.
It's only the first time that he moves. So he's probably useful with Heimdall. He's probably very useful with Madam Web. Well, actually, any of almost, Topaz, Fanfare, whatever.
Yeah, now Topaz, I had him in that Surfer move deck I was using. One of the only drawbacks to Topaz is it's hard to fill up that lane. So Red Wing was a good one to drop in there because he'd bring a card in. Part of the problem when I tried to use him is you don't want a random card draw in move very often.
Right.
Sometimes he'll drop in a card that you do not want there. He's almost more effective in a combo deck where you're not just relying on move. So I like the idea. I like that Red Wing's a card. I love his little goggles that he probably doesn't need, but I couldn't put him higher than Wrong Lane Club.
Okay.
And maybe not even there because he just gets bumped out too easily. He's almost on standing still to me. I'll let you be the tiebreaker on there. To me, he's on the line.
I'll keep him in Strong Lane Club because I think he has some use for sure as far as dropping another card in there. But like you said, it depends on what card drops. It'd be nice if it was a little bit more or a little less chaotic and more like, okay, pull your highest cost card here. Then you could really revolve a deck around, okay, I want to make sure I get this in my hand. I'll leave him on Oops Wrong Lane Club.
Wants a card to be less chaotic.
Well. Okay, then we have Ghost Spider. You play her and she pulls the last card that you played over to her location. She is always palling with Human Torch usually in my stuff. That's really about it though. I mean, when you're looking at the rest of these cards, she's not affecting the other side. The only thing she's probably going to impact is either Human Torch or that's about it.
She can deliver cards to Craven and Hercules, and you get her. You get her after you play her after the card you want to move. So I feel like she's a little more certain than Iron Fist. I used to think, well, Iron Fist is the before and Ghost Spider is the after, but you can send them in any direction with her. She can backfill in Topaz. I think she's better than Iron Fist. I don't know if that's enough to get her up to Gateway, but at worst, she's body slide by 1. And you have a little more control with her. So I don't feel like I can argue with that, but I think she's better than Iron Fist. Okay. And Iron Fist is solidly at body slide by 1.
I think we're going to leave her. We'll put her at Gateway. She's a really low Gateway, but I mean, in my opinion. But yeah, that's fine. Just like you said, I think the argument for more control of what happens, that's a good argument. All right, I'm fine with that. Next up is Rocket Raccoon and Groot. This card can move one time.
You can move it, and after your opponent plays a card here, steal 1 power from it.
Yeah, I like Rocket and Groot.
Absolutely.
I think that it's a situation where it's useful. It can help you get points if you got Craven over there. Plus, it's going to, sap some power. And if you can maybe catch that person,
sap.
It maybe catch that person, slipping. Marvel sap. Stick with it, folks. Stick with us all the way through the end of the podcast. Anyway, I think it's a useful card as far as the move mechanic goes. Craven is about the only bonus I can think of.
I like it in non-move decks, kind of like Penny Parker and Spider, where it gives you that element. Sometimes all you need is 1 move to make a difference. It deserves to be considered because the move is secondary.
Okay. You like Strong Lane Club?
I do.
Werewolf by Night. Oh my goodness. I love Werewolf by Night. I love throwing them in there and watching Silk jump around and Werewolf jump around after I lay out own reveals and gather up all this power.
He jumps up and gets down.
He does get down. I mean, this is going to either be body slide by 1 or Gateway, because I've seen Werewolf get up there.
I have too, but it's few and far between. I say body slide by 1. I put Werewolf in all kinds of decks, move decks, not move decks. I can't always get him to do what I want him to do because by the time I start laying down the cards to activate him, I need him to already be there. I try to use him in my Thor and Beta Ray Bill deck that has a lot of on reveals, but on the off chance that I get Thor and Beta Ray Bill, when am I going to sneak Werewolf in there?
Do you remember when we were playing a live game and Werewolf jumped? I started screaming, no, don't move. It jumped over and cost me the game. That's happened to me, not only in games against you. That's definitely happened where Werewolf was huge, but because I laid down on reveal and forgot that Werewolf's going to move, I'll stick with body slide.
He has great potential, but it's hard to get him there sometimes.
I will agree with you. Okay.
Like werewolves.
Not something fun you want to do. Next up is Juggernaut. So Juggernaut.
You had it right.
Oops, Wrong Lane Club, which actually kind of fits. He essentially, when you play him,
unreveal, move all enemy cards played here this turn, including unrevealed cards.
And that's fun, especially if you can catch them. Oh, yeah, they're playing there. They laid down their 2 cards and they're thinking they're going, oh, here we go. And then you're just like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
He goes with Rocket and Groot and Captain Marvel. He's definitely a move mechanic card. I do have him in some of my move decks, but he's useful outside of that. His primary use to me is not in a move deck. He can be used in a move deck, of course, but I think he's good. But he's one like, okay, who else can I add to this deck? He's not one like, okay, I'm doing this move deck with Craven and Polaris, and I got to get Juggernaut in here.
Right. Okay. Last four, we're starting with Kingpin. Kingpin can make an impact sometimes. Back in the day, like he was not good for a move deck if you were trying to move things because he would hit you and your opponent. Yeah. Now it's just your opponent, which was probably one of the smartest moves. I really like him. I'll definitely say body slide by one, possibly even gateway.
I think he goes up there because if you're doing a move your opponent's deck or an anti-move deck, after Scream, Kingpin comes next.
All right. Now, this girl is not making it past, possibly even here. We have Martyr. One costs 5 power, but the only reason she's going to move is in order to lose you a game. She is not going in my move deck.
You want her to be standing still.
Yes. You want her to
standing
stay
still
there.
Is the best place for her to be.
Yep. All right. One of the more recent cards here, these last two are actually both very recent, at least at the same time. We have Hydra Stomper, which gets a +2 bonus for every card that's moved. And this is ongoing that game. So this stuff can build in your hand. And then when you lay them out there, am I saying that right? It builds while it's in your hand, right? It doesn't have to be out there. Okay.
It doesn't have to be out there. You get +1 power for each time one of your cards moved this game.
I like Hydra Stomper. I want to say body slide by 1 because it's increased quite a bit of power for me. When in the right deck and you got stuff bouncing around all over the place, Hydra Stomper is going to come out there and be pretty jacked.
I think he goes higher. I mean, I've even used him in an ongoing deck. All those cards that get bonuses for moving, and then you're getting one more with him. I mean, he can say a force multiplier, if you will.
True.
I think those 4 cards, and he dropped at the same time as Fanfei, Topaz, and the card we're going to talk about next, revived the move deck for me.
Wow.
I enjoyed the move deck, but I always thought to get the most out of it, to maximize the potential, you've got to use Phoenix Force. And I haven't even tried Phoenix Force with these guys yet because there's so many move options and you're not relying on that one card.
Yeah. All right. I like it. All right. Last one. I'll let you introduce our last card, Evan Bevins.
The Master of Savat, Batroc Zeliper.
Zeliper. All right, buddy. You've played with this
character, but a pretty serious snap card. I think he goes no lower than Gateway almost said something to you. And the only thing that keeps me from going more than Portals is that I said the Torch has a glass jaw. Batroc's susceptible to Killmonger, but he's not necessarily going to get up there into Shang-Chi territory. What I love about him is it's any card that moves. It's your opponent. If it's you, if they move one of your cards, you're going to lose 5 points, but you're going to get +2 from Batroc.
Yeah.
He can go almost anywhere and fits with a lot of decks. I put him in that Sam Wilson Captain America deck. You run him with Hydra Stomper, just like in What If Season 4, Episode 38. We were allies with the French in World War II. So, like Grandpa Batroc stomping Hydra Nazis with Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter. If I couldn't move Topaz up there, maybe he stays in Gateway Land. We've talked about doing a list of the most disappointing cards that didn't live up to our expectations. Not Batroc.
Not bad. Well, if you look at that tier, Gateway, we've got 4 from last season in there. All 3 of those move cards made an impact. Hydra Stomper made an impact.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that's
Renaissance.
Before we run it down, do you see anything you would like to move from? We've got 5 cards in Portals. Do you see anything from Gateway that you think deserves a spot up there?
The only one I'm thinking of, and I want to see what you think because I'm not convinced, and maybe the fact that I'm not convinced means it needs to stay in Gateway Land, is Scream. I think she's, all due respect to James Logan Howlett, but I think Scream's the best there is of what she does. I
will say that there are specific decks that I play where I do not want to play against a move deck.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as Scream drops, I know that I'm playing against a move deck. The plan is they are going to mess with me. if you have a card that causes me to insta retreat and you're on Gateway, I think we could make a case and move Scream up. I'm all right with that.
I think of the cards that count on moving other cards, I think she's the best.
Yeah.
And like she can reach anywhere. Kingpin is nasty, even though he doesn't steal that energy, but you got to get them to him. Scream, it doesn't matter where she is. You got to watch out.
Anything that you want to move down from the Oops Wrong Lane Club to Standing Still. I mean, I think we did pretty good there, but just to check, we got Miles Morales, we've got Spider, Aranya, Nightcrawler, Captain Marvel, Nocturne, Red Wing, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot and Juggernaut in the Oops Wrong Lane Club. Any of those so bad you're just like, well, you know. And
the only one that I'd think about is Red Wing. I just don't feel strongly enough about that. I think Red Wing's got some potential. I think there's a way to use Red Wing that we haven't figured out yet.
Okay. All right. I think we've got a good distribution here. I mean, it's a typical bell curve. Well, let's go ahead and run them down here. So going from bottom to top, Standing Still belongs to the Infinity Stone for Infinity
Ultron Infinity Stone.
Ultron Infinity Stone.
Yeah. Just whatever, put the words in order and say it confidently.
Grandmaster, the Space Stone from the Infinity Gauntlet, that Thanos
original recipe. Yeah.
Right. Hydra Bob, Uncle Ben, Nico's move the next card to the right, I think is her spell, and then Martyr. So wrapping up the bottom tier, we go to the next tier, which is the Oops Wrong Lane Club. We got Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Spider, Aranya, Nightcrawler, Captain Marvel, Nocturne, Red Wing, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot, along with Juggernaut. And then body slide by one. These are cards in the middle tier. We have Iron Fist, Polaris, Winds of Watum, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Hercules, Spider-Man 2099, Stegron, Captain America's Shield, Vision, Cloak, Jeff the Baby Land Shark, Arrow, Multiple Man, and Werewolf by Night. And then as we move up to Gateway, almost said something to you. And every time I say that, I could see Gateway just going like this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's excellent.
We got Human Torch. We've got Silk.
I was going to be worried if that had been an AI.
Human Torch
from your buddy Al.
Good old Al. Human Torch, Silk, Madam Web, Craven, Dagger, Topaz, Fanfay, Ghost Spider, Kingpin, Hydra Stomper, and Batroc. Round out Zeliper. Round out Gateway almost said something to you. And then the top tier of the move cards as of May of 2025.
On your left.
Where's the portals? Heimdall. Is it Phoenix Force or just Phoenix? It's
Phoenix Force.
Phoenix Force. Okay. Heimdall, Phoenix Force, Magneto, Cannonball, Vulture, and Scream. So there it is, folks. We did some due diligence here. It took us about an hour and a half. I want to snapshot this real quick. That way I don't lose it. Top tier list of move cards. Evan Bevins, we did it, buddy. We did it. Anything left unsaid, or would you like to go ahead and get into plugs?
Let's plug away.
Plug away. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, well, as I've said before, if you like my thoughts on comics but hate the sound of my voice, you can check out asterisk51.blogspot.com. There you'll find summaries and reviews of various free comics, hashtag Free Comic Friday. I read through all the Amalgam comics. I strongly encourage you to read them and then come back and see what you think about what I have to say. Just imagine Stan Lee creating the DC universe. It was a unique experience, but not one to be missed. Delve into the realm of movies with hashtag Dollar Tree Cinema, or just trying to watch all the Godzilla movies in release order. At the rate I'm going, I should be finished with that project before the year 2070.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. No promises. I mean, I'm on pace, but
no promises.
So that's what I've got. Godzilla Raids again coming up, maybe out by the time this appears. And I show up on your shows every once in a while over on the Magazines and Monsters channel, talking Bronze Age horror comics or the magical insanity that was Bob Haney writing Brave and the Bold at DC. And sometimes I talk about comics that get turned into movies with Mark Radulich, and you just never know where I'll pop up.
That's right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can check out the Source Material Comics feed. You're either watching this on YouTube or you're listening to it on your podcatcher of choice. The Unspoken Issues podcast is a 90s-centric podcast that shows up on the feed, and we are in the process, it's me and Chris Armstrong, going through the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie adaptations. We finished our recording.
Go Ninja, go.
Yes, we finished our recording of part 3 this weekend, so that'll be airing here probably in a week or so. And then we are going to get out of Unspoken Issues territory and head over to Source Material territory because they made a comic adaptation of the 2007 animated film. So we found that. We're going to hop into that. We're going to read that. Yeah, and Source Material, it's the podcast for comic books of any era. And then we have Snap Material, where we discuss Marvel Snap at least once a month, where we get together and talk about the previous season, the upcoming season, top 5 tier list, whatever we got going on there, talk about the meta, talk about what we unlocked, and we have a good time. So with that being said, it's time to get out of here. That over there is Evan Bevins. I'm Jesse Starcher. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.